Junior Cycle Higher Level 2013 Pilot Phase 3 Paper 2 Question 3. This is a probability question and you get given a diagram to fill in. This diagram is effectively a map of different routes down the side of the mountain. You could just see it as a bit of a tree diagram. Key information here is they mention when you're making the movements that it's equally likely to choose any particular route when you have a choice. So in the first instance for A, you've got two options at A, two initial options, so it's 1 out of 2 for each of them. For B, if you get to B, we have a situation where we have again two routes. So that again is 1 out of 2, 1 out of 2. Likewise for C, there's two options. What we're doing is we're simply writing in all the probabilities for choosing each individual branch. When you get to D, you can see here we've got three options. So in this instance, it can be 1 out of 3. Now we're asked to use this diagram and look at the different ways in which we can get to point E, starting at point A. So we're starting at point A and we're making our way all the way down to point E. There's a variety of ways in which we can do this. So starting at A, we could go to B and down to E. That would be one route. The next route option would be to go to B but then go to D before going down to E. And lastly, the third option is to go via C before going to D and then E. It should be noted that there are no other options. For example, because it's the direction of the arrows, they deliberately talked about a skier going down the side of a mountain. You can't go to C and then D and then B and then E as such because you're going against this arrowhead. You have to go in that direction shown. So there are only three options for getting into E. So there are various options, and the answer to the question, how many different ways can the skier reach the point? The answer is 3. Moving on to part 2, if the skier starts at point A, find the probability that the skier will reach point E. Well, they've given you this framework, so they've given you a lot of work done already in part 1. I've written out ABE, ABE, ABDE, ACDE. And this will help you to answer part 2, because what we're wanting is what's the probability of getting to E via each of these different routes. So for ABE, when you have this sort of tree diagram style diagram, it's a case of multiplying along the branches. So it's going from A to B and going from B to E, which gives you a quarter. Looking at the next one, we have a half times by a third. So which gives a probability of 1/12. And lastly, for ACDE, we have a half times by a half times by a third as well. That's also 1/12. So all we now need to do is work out the total of that. So a quarter plus a 12th plus a 12th. Well, a quarter is 3/12 using equivalent fractions. We've already got two other 12ths. So our final answer is 5 out of 12. So 5/12 of a chance of getting to E. And obviously the other 7/12 are for which can be shared not equally but to in some way between F and G, but we're not asked about that. So